Now, how often does that happen? I mean, is that like a thing? That's a thing now that we have to deal with? Fantastic.
We are the Chisholm Trail Outdoor Museum blacksmiths. Welcome to our shop. Yeah.
Take it all the way down.
Apparently, the camera didn't record any of this, but I took this and cut it down to 2 foot by 4 foot. We're going to use this plate to make a table for the lathe that we restored so that we can eventually turn hammer handles. Alright, and along here is where I'm going to weld it to this shipping container. I gotta knock the paint off first. Again, the Scotch-Brite discs are great for that. Here, to give us a back, we won't have to put any legs on that. We'll just have the 2 legs we have to put on the front. And we're going to measure our front legs out at 40 and a half. And we cut them using a chop saw. Obviously this old drill pipe is not pretty, but I always say for something functional, especially in my garage, but it doesn't matter what it looks like as long as it works. And this should work. The legs at least. Now I have 2 legs. 2 legs is, I guess, better than no legs. I'm going to try and square these legs up best we can and tack them into place. I've got some 60-10 rods here, and I'm going to run about 140, 150 amps. And we'll see if we can't get legs on it, stand it up against the wall, and then weld it in. I like to keep this about an inch or 2 off the edge of here, because I'm going to cut this end off after I get it mounted and try and make that a little flatter. Maybe 1/4 is a touch too much. And I know I don't claim to be the best welder in the world, and I think that'll be pretty self-evident here shortly. But it'll hold legs on. Hopefully that keeps them from popping off there. We'll find out in a minute. Now that we're roughly level, and I promised the legs didn't fall off, even though I didn't record it, we're going to tack this up, keep that side in place. Now, I suppose I have two options to mount the motor. This is the way that my grandfather had it, with the motor sitting behind the lathe itself, and the lathe a little forward on the table. Or I've seen a lot of people mount their motors underneath the table. Just cut a hole for the belt because it's an open space in there. The belt to run down and mount the motor underneath, but I'm not so sure I like that idea. I think I'd rather have the motor up here, especially being an oilable motor. I'd have to flip the caps around so that oil doesn't pour out of the varying oil spots, I guess. But I think I'll mount it here and get some measurements, get everything marked out, start tapping the drilling and tapping the table, and then I can screw everything down. Well, I suppose there's no time for you, but it's been an hour or two for me. I had to go and get bolt this thing down, and I've marked the holes with a center punch, so I'm going to drill those out. This is a 13/64 bit, and then we'll tap them at 1/4 20. Jesus. We'll drill a pilot hole, what do you think? Oh, sweet baby Jesus. Well, some oil's better than no oil. I need a different drill bit. Well, I don't have another 13/64, so we're going with a 3/16, and that'll have to be good enough. Definitely time for new drill bits. Alright, so now we'll tap these holes and get the lathe mounted, and we can figure out where we want the motor at. Alright, let's hope this 1/4 20 tap is in better condition than my drill bit. One more for the lathe. That should take care of that. I think I'm going to take the Scotch-Brite disc though and go over the, well, maybe I won't do that. It's kind of oily now. I think that'll keep it from rusting anyway. Maybe I'll just leave it like that. should do that. Now we'll locate the motor, get it straight, and mark the holes for that. And just mark a couple of these holes with a pencil. The center punch mark here. You guys got to remember that you don't have to make everything perfect. I mean, if you have the skills and you have the time and you have the money and the resources and all of that to do something perfect, great. Do it perfectly. But if you don't have all of those things, but you got a bunch of junk laying around like I do, you can make things work. Maybe it's not the prettiest thing in the world, but I can use this. It didn't cost me anything. And it's a Milwaukee bit too. Christ. Now, how often does that happen? I mean, is that like a thing? That's a thing now that we have to deal with? Fantastic. Okay, everybody's seen holes drilled and bolts put in and tapped and all of that. I did, however, manage to break the tip off of my tap, and that's a blue point tap. So I managed to break a Milwaukee drill bit and a blue point tap, and I had to grind it down to finish tapping the holes anyway. So I'm going with 3 holes for the motor mount. I'm living dangerous, you know, but that's where we're going there. In case nobody noticed, a lot of these old motors have little caps that you can lift up right here behind the bearing. That's where you put a couple of drops of oil in every year to maintain the motor. It's a good idea to check and see if you have oilable bearings or sealed bearings on any motors that you're using for your tools. A lot of these older ones were oilable bearings. Alright, now we'll get apparently a 8-inch extension cord because I'm too far away from the plug. And then we'll see if this thing kicks on. Also, under this cover, there's also 2 places to oil the, I guess they're probably brass bushings or bearing surfaces inside of here. You just pop this little cover off and there's 2 pretty much identical ports, the same as the motor on the back there. So we're going to plug in this little light and see if we get power. Well, I'm sure that we need a new belt, but we have proof of concept. It works. I like it. Alright, so there is the restoration, or at least making it usable again, lathe that belonged to my grandfather. Looking at the model number on this lathe, it is a hold on and I'll tell you. 103, 231, 80. Best I can tell, these were made usually sometime in the 40s, probably maybe early 50s too. And given design changes, I would say this one is somewhere in the 40s. It's a neat little project, and I think I'm going to be using it here pretty soon. On the new table, I have chisels to go with it, and we'll get those here in a second. Here are the two sets of chisels that are still really sharp. That belonged to my grandfather, and I'll be using these to build my hammer handles soon, I hope. But I'm glad that we now have everything together. So if I do anything else to it, I'll make a video and you guys can come along for the ride. We'll see you next time. Thanks.